Good evening, everyone. Quite some introduction. I'll tell you what to do with life. But yeah, basically this is what I like to do. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to share some pieces of wisdom that I found on the road as I go. And I'm going to show you a different perspective, how to look at things. And maybe even inspire you a little. In order to go through this, I will use these pictures to guide me. And as you can see, they're pretty random. Do they seem random to you? If they do, then I did a good job, because that's exactly what I was going for. And before we proceed, I'd like to play a little game with you. I want you to pick a picture that you think I'm going to start with. Okay, take a moment, it's pretty random. There's no prize, so don't expect much. But still, maybe to give you a little hint, don't go for this one, okay? This is the Iban elders drinking wine in the jungle, and from my own experience, I could tell you, you don't go anywhere the next day after this. So, okay, last glimpse, take your pick, and off we go. This is the picture I like to start with. And why the house, a small house and a tree? Well, this is my origin. This is where I come from. It's in eastern Slovakia. It's a little village where my mom comes from. And no worries, I'm gonna spare you my autobiography. It's not that exciting. But there's one thing I found out, and you only find it out if you go out. I found out that the place where we grow up, the environment we grow up, really shapes us in who we are. And it's something that no matter how far you go and how much you experience, it's so embedded in you, it's instilled in you through the years of your growing up. It's always going to be there. Your values, your principles, things that you cherish, and the way you interact with people. It's a part of who you are, and it's never going to change, no matter how far you go. But eventually, sooner or later, we all settle on some journey. This is a road, but I want you to think of this picture as symbolic. It's not always a road. For some people, this could be a journey of exploring, a scientific exploration. We heard some speakers in that regards today. For some people, it's finding the right one, set up a family, and just live life in that way. For some people, it's some entrepreneurship idea or a sports career or whatever it floats your boat, as I'd say. For me, actually, this picture is very true because it was the road. I really took my bag and I decided to go and see the world. Maybe out of sheer curiosity, maybe just to broaden my horizons, because even though your home shapes you and gives you some beginning, something to start with, doesn't mean you cannot always broaden your horizons. So that's what I did. I took off, and there's one thing that this slide should actually go before, but it wouldn't be such a nice continuity. Do you know what this represents? Anybody? Any yield? No? Okay. I'll tell you then. It's education. I'm not going to preach too much about that, but the fact is that a nation that spends money on education, it really moves forward. I'm going to more talk about it from the personal perspective of you. If you learn, if you educate yourself, it opens a whole new horizons to you. It opens many doors, and I'm more talking about education not in a conventional way of thinking, because this would really be a terrible example. This is a Japanese class, and these students in Korea and Japan are famous for just memorizing things, trying to pass the tests, get the best scores, get to the university, secure the job, and be all set. I'm talking about learning as maybe learn how to learn how to think, how to solve troubles, and this is something, this is an asset that you're going to use for the rest of your life. It's just priceless, and it happened to me too. Well, money, somebody would probably put this one first, right? For example, in my case, because of my education, I was able to go to Japan, teach, and make some of the money. I'm not going to talk much about money. There are people, even though there are people who believe that money is the force that's moving the world around, I'm not one of those. But unfortunately, it's a necessity. Money is something we need not to end up sleeping under the bridge, although we had some talks about that too, and it's not always that bad to sleep under the bridge. But money, two things I'd like to tell you about money. Don't end up making money the way you don't like. I don't know, I've been here for 6 months, but I have a feeling in Slovakia that there's tons of people that hate their job, at least at the offices and this kind of environment. So what I'm trying to say here, we live in the era of opportunities. You have a chance to do what you like and make money that way. And a lot of people doesn't take that opportunity and end up doing something they don't really like. So that's one thing. And a second thing, it's not really important how much money you make. It really depends how you spend that money. I think that's crucial, and it's all about priorities. It depends what you decide to spend your money on. I know a guy who buys a sofa for 7,000 euros. It's perfectly fine with me, but I wouldn't do that. I'll take the money and I'll go see the world. And yeah, now we are here with the elders drinking tuak. It's a rice wine, it's very strong, deceiving. If you drink too much, you're really not going anywhere the next day. But in my case, I wanted to travel, I wanted to see the world, and I wanted to see what people think on the other side of the world and how they perceive their dreams and what's paradise for them and what would they like to have. And we, as humans, always like to go to some places that are exotic. So in this case, I think this is one of the most exotic places I ever went to. These people live on the outside of the civilization. They have very few basic needs, I mean not needs, but the amenities. They don't have electricity or running water or anything like that. But after a while, sitting down with them and a few cups of rice wine, you realize that it's pretty amazing. It's like that novel from Paulo Coelho, when a little fella sets off on the other side of the world only to find out that what he needs is back home. And that brings you to what people really want. I think it's in the human nature that we want something we either don't have or we always want more. We're very unsettled as people. And these guys, you know what's paradise for them? What's a dream for them? Now I'll show you. It's this. Okay, this is a random city. I believe it's somewhere in Norway. But the fact is, still the majority of this world does not have this. We do have it, and it really gives you a different perspective of the values of what you have. For majority of this world, still running water or electricity or internet, yeah, well, internet is breaking through big time, but these are still things that they are just absolutely fascinating, and that's their vision of paradise, that's their vision of happiness. They want to live in an environment where they can go to the supermarket, they can send their kids safely in school, and give them the future that is somewhat brighter than the one they have. So, assuming we live in a city, we have all that, what would be the next that we want? Because if you go around, you ask people, they're not really that happy. They always want more. Us humans, we are a really strange species, you know. We outpass the three basic things that we're supposed to do. We just always want more. So most common answer is travel. People always tell you they want to travel, and they think it's so difficult, and they always find reasons why not to do it. And well, there are a lot of people that does travel, but they travel a bit. I think if you want to travel, just do it. And I'm a living example. This is, by the way, the picture taken under the bridge. So as I said, it's not always so bad. And traveling is not difficult. You find the ways and you just go for it. Why this picture is here though? Because I want to talk about experience. It's something that you get if you do something. As far as education goes, it's something that you pick, you learn, and you got it. But experience, unless you actually go and start walking in this case and start exploring, you won't be able to gain it. So it's not given, it's gained. And experience is an asset that is just fabulous. You know, I'm not the same person now as I was 10 years before, and that's only because of the experience that I have. And as much as same as education, experience also opens many doors to you. So when you start to travel and you go to the next city, that's a big trip. 10 years later, you find yourself going around South America, and that's somewhat of a big trip. Or, experience doesn't only apply for travel, it applies for everything. In my case, it was a lot of travels, but in anybody's else case, it could be the work experience. When you start, when you're young, and you really want to do something, it's kind of hard. But everything is an experience, good or bad. If you learn how to learn from it, you're always going to benefit from any kind of experience. This is me sailing on a Queen Mary II as an officer. And how did that happen? It only happened because of the steps that went before that, and everything led to this. So sometimes when I ended up in situations like that, I wondered, how did I end up here, coming from a small train station somewhere in eastern Slovakia? I'm teaching Japanese kids, or I'm sailing on a ship, or as a matter of fact, I'm standing here in front of you, which would not have happened if I wouldn't have all the experience. But there is one more thing. Anybody would guess what that might represent? Now I was gonna put a picture of my infected leg here that happened in Patagonia, or maybe me in a hospital in Borneo, which wasn't pleasant either, or a very recent complicated fracture of my finger. I want to talk about health, because I know it sounds like a cliche and we all take it for granted, but there is a saying that a healthy person has many wishes, but the sick person usually has only one. So I'm not trying to preach how to be healthy and all that stuff. I'm just saying it's good to stay fit, whatever it is. And that's why I put this couple here. It's a couple from Mongolia in their late 80s, and they're strong, they're still going strong, only because, well, in that case, I don't think they did any gym or anything like that, but they do take care of themselves, and I think that's one of the very important things in life that must not be forgotten. And it got me where I am now. Another very valuable thing that I discovered through my travels are friends. It might sound like a weird thing after what was said here, that we live in an era when people have 1,000 or even 2,000 friends on Facebook, but they don't have time to knock on the neighbor's door and check how the person is. So I think friends are very important, and I think through all my travels, I went out and came back 10 years later with small visits in between, but then you really realize what the true friends are, because people move on with their lives. There's nothing wrong with that. But the friends that stick around through thin and flush, those are the friends that you wanna really cherish. And I learned that in life, like this is a family I met in 2001. They were kids back then. Now they're adults and we're still friends. And we talked about money a moment ago, and you can buy friends with money, but that kind of friends is really gone when the money is gone. The friends that stick around are, I would say, one of the most valuable experiences of my life, or I don't know if you can even call it the riches or something like that, but this is what I really value, the people as it is. And then I end up back in my village 10 years later with a lot of experiences and thinking, what was it all worth it, or what was it all about? Because I always thought as I grow older I'll become smarter. Now that did not really happen, and it seems to me like more you know, more confusing everything becomes. Like you see through the things, you see how complex it is. And we saw Plato here today, and do you know who Plato's teacher was? It was Socrates. And he said that I know that I know nothing. And that's how I feel. It really seems that more I learn, more I know, and more complicated everything becomes. And that brings me to the stage of being lost. And thinking of that, what I have done, I adapted that as a normal stage. Because if you know everything, if you're not lost in that sense, you know what's gonna happen. In a way, to me, it's not exciting, but you're also sort of close to all other options. So that's why if you're lost, even for a while, it's not really a bad thing. Because being lost also means being open. And in that sense, whatever comes, if you're ready for it, if you already have all the tools and assets I spoke about, it doesn't matter where you are or how that money is gonna come, you're just gonna go through it. So probably that would be the most valuable lesson I learned. And what comes out of all this? Well, I said in the beginning, never stop exploring, whatever the exploration might be for you. For me, it is travels, and it seems like there's always somewhere else to go and something else to see. But whatever that is for you, I just think we all should live the life, live our dreams, because basically that's what I lived. I just decided to follow my dreams rather than to follow my career, and I would not change a thing. So I recommend we all take our bags, or take your ideas, or take the loved one that you have and just make things happen, because that's really the most important thing. Because life is happening as we live it. There is no grand prize at the end. That's it. So that's why I think we should all go and collect those little pieces and create a magnificent puzzle that's eventually gonna become our life. And at the end, I just wanna say, always remember, if you smile at life, it's gonna smile back at you, or at least that's what I believe. So thank you for your attention.